We're just ordinary people living ordinary lives until we see someone on TV win a $25,000 prize. Come on down. I'll play any game for 10 seconds of fame. Come on down. I'll make a deal, just let me spin the wheel. Come on down. To win $1 million, all you need is a little luck and thorough knowledge of multiple disparate trivial subjects.
All right, welcome to Come On Down, the game show podcast hosted by me, John Baker.
And me, a very sick and tired Jonathan Montney.
I'm so excited to sit next to you on this little baby love seat for the next hour.
I'm excited for you and for our listeners is that they're going to hear the equivalent of the Michael Jordan flu game, but on the podcast medium. Yes.
All right, and then next week when I'm sick because of this,
dude, we should just do a nonstop Michael Jordan.
We just keep passing back and forth. We make out. I mean,
I
forgot.
Wait,
I wasn't supposed to say anything about that.
What if that was how people got sick? So if you knew that they were making out with somebody who got sick. Wait, that is how you get sick sometimes.
That's how you get. What's the one in school?
Mono.
I never got it because I never kissed anybody.
Yeah, me either. But it's like you live in a small town and you get mono and then your cousin gets mono. And they're like, we know how you got that.
All right, today we're going to be talking about a game show that really inspired our existence.
Heavily.
In a way.
Heavily.
The Price is Right.
And not just our existence of this podcast as humans.
Yeah, no, my parents get really horny thinking about spaying and neutering dogs.
Uh-huh.
So I was kind of conceived during a Price is Right binge.
Yeah.
Back in 86.
Mm-hmm. And same. My parents just really like prices of things. And when people guess it correct, who doggy, pants come flying off.
So before we get into all of the lurid details of our parents' sex lives, we've got a sponsor.
We do.
Are you tired of the same old podcasts?
Definitely. They always sound so produced and professional.
Yuck. Give me authenticity or give me death. Patrick Henry.
Yep. Luckily, rough around the edges and authentic podcasts still exist.
Come On Down is a podcast that rises above the rest by continuing to remain at the bottom.
Two wacky friends that have experienced life together bring you an hour of fun commentary, stories from the past, and so much more.
So this is an ad for our podcast on our podcast?
I thought it was kind of meta that we were doing Price is Right, so I decided to do a meta ad.
The authenticity oozes from your smartphone speakers each week when you play Come On Down. When you play? Come On Down. Oh, when you play the audio.
Right.
Come On Down.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell that these two friends have gone in search of the underground tunnels in Norman, Oklahoma during finals week, almost died in a freaking incredibly dumb hold onto the side of a car with a skateboard stunt, met a random girl while playing guitar in an elementary school and ended up at a bonfire in a field, run from the local police while trespassing at a nature preserve, started a record label and signed a 16-year-old girl, she wasn't that old, and sent her to a random man's house to record her debut album, mooned girls out a car window only to get their phone numbers and then never meet up, and more.
So search Come On Down, click on the 7th O in the Google at the bottom of the first search page, and check out any one of our episodes.
Our listeners will receive the best-ish content on the entire internet. So you don't need a code. Just sit back, relax, and let original content wash over you like a nice, heated, weighted blanket.
That sounds nice.
That does sound nice. Is that 7th O in the Google accurate?
I mean, no.
When we first
started, when we first started, yes, it was around 5, 6, 7. But now, well, here's the thing. Who knows
how Google works?
Well, Google is tailored to the person searching. So
Sure.
It knows now that when I search Come On Down, I want to listen to my own episodes. But for somebody, actually, you know what? Hit us up in the comments section.
Let us know how many O's.
How many O's does it take for you to get to Come On Down?
So, yeah, those were things that happened in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
Some of which we've talked about on here before.
Correct.
Some of which we haven't.
Right.
And we never will.
And yeah, exactly. We just want to tease you. You've been teased.
Don't
tease me, bro.
Yeah. Timely. All right. I won't tease you any further because we're going to talk about The Price is Right, which is, this is like our 63rd episode or something like that.
So not memorable in any number or way. We decided to do the most important episode.
Right.
Okay.
At one point, I wanted it to be our 50th episode because this is the 50th year of The Price is Right. Also, at one point, originally, when we started this podcast, the thought was, what we do is we go out to Burbank, California, where they film the... Excuse me, I had like a real gassy...
It sounded like a reverse burp.
It was weird. I don't know how to describe it, but it happened, and I apologize to the viewers.
And this is that hard, authentic content you come here for every week.
And it will get you hard. So we wanted to go to Burbank, California, where they film the show, because what happens is they've got, an audience packed full of people. And they start camping out, like in the middle of the night, to get in the night before. So I wanted to record an episode from the camp out to get into The Price is Right, and then be in the audience for the show and
record our show while sitting in the audience.
Right, obviously. And we'd be doing an episode on Jeopardy while we were in the audience of The Price is Right.
Yeah.
COVID has not gone away in the way that you want it to. So
some people don't.
That's still not a thing. Right. I mean, the people that want to just control us forever. But so we haven't had that capability really.
Mm-hmm.
And, again, we're like 60 episodes in or something like that. So,
but luckily The Price is Right has said, fuck COVID. We're letting people into the audience. And now you can watch shows with a whole 8 people sitting in the audience.
I don't like it. But we'll get to that.
Okay.
So first, we've got to start from the beginning, way before COVID.
Yeah, before Drew Carey.
Before space travel. Back in 1956.
Whoa.
1956. Goodson and Todman, who we've talked about 1,000 times because they make every game show.
Yeah, they're the McDonald's of podcast, of game shows.
In what sense? McDonald's makes all the fast food?
Just McDonald's has a monopoly.
Okay. So
they're owned by Apple.
No.
Not yet.
Whoa. Inside info. So the original version of The Price is Right was on NBC. Oh, God. That's fucking... Thank you for that.
Did you hear that?
Did I hear that? Did I hear the huge cough that you just did 1 inch from me? Yeah.
I leaned away from you. I did the COVID cough.
4 inches away.
I coughed into a mask and then I threw the mask away.
So, originally on NBC from 1956 to 63.
I'm going to do the show facing away from you.
Thank you. And then ABC from 63 to 65.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're being weird on top of facing away from me.
I'm acknowledging that I hear you speak.
So it was hosted by Bill Cullen, who we've talked about before.
Yeah,
he hosted Name That Tune. At one point, he hosted Joker's Wild. He was also a guest on a bunch of those, like To Tell the Truth, I've Got a Secret type of shows. He was a panelist. So he was the host of this show. He was a big deal in game show hosting. The show was like we've done with Match Game before, where there was the original Match Game and then the modernized version, which was completely different.
Right, totally.
It was completely different.
Great.
So it was like 4 people competing on like the bid phase of trying to bid on how much an item costs.
So supermarket sweep?
I mean, kind of, but also the beginning, the first round of Price is Right.
Yeah.
The current version, basically, where it's 4 people trying to bid, and if you are the closest, you win it, and then that gets added to your total, and now next round.
Oh, that's boring.
And so that was basically the whole show.
That's so boring.
That's why it only lasted for 10 years and a couple thousand episodes.
That sounds boring, right?
Yeah. In 1956, it was the most exciting shit ever. All right. It was a different time.
Yeah, we didn't have any O's in Google
There
at
was
all, 'cause
no-
there was no
Google.
there was no Google.
The concept, the word Google was only a couple decades old at that point in time.
Damn.
I think it was invented in like the 20s, I read recently, or something like that.
But Google?
Yeah. Because it means 1 followed by 100 zeros. A Google.
That why there are all the zeros at the bottom of the page?
Maybe.
That's what a Google is?
A Google is just a really big number. But it's spelled Googol.
Googol. Oh, goggle. Google.
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 Yeah, Google. So, yeah, it was on NBC and then ABC from 56 to 65 with Bill Cullen. But who gives a fuck about that?
I don't care, because he had nothing to do with decreasing the population of wild animals.
Right. Then in 1972, Goodson and Todman said, why don't we make a new version of that Price is Right game show that we had last decade? Why don't we call it The New Price is Right?
Oof, God, I love that word, new.
And why don't we get this host that he's going to be real popular? The people are going to love him. Let's get Dennis James to host The New Price is Right.
Dennis James.
Let's get Dennis James to host The Price is Right.
So we have two first
How
names
could you
right
go
off
wrong?
the bat.
How could you go wrong with Dennis James?
Yeah.
That was what
I'm going to search that.
that was what Goodman
And we're going to see if the actual Dennis James even comes
that was
up.
what Goodman said, and Toddson said, I'm in.
Damn it, he did.
He did. Okay. So they brought this to CBS and they said, hey, remember this show we did on NBC and ABC previously? The two other networks, Big D James.
Big
You're on
D.
Instagram for Big D James. And you didn't even search anything. You just went to the list of people you're following on Instagram.
He's 1.3 million followers, dude.
Wow. Also, he's promoting a Black Week sale. It just sounds weirder when you call it Black Week. So this is Black Week right now. We're in Black Week.
We're in Black Week. Okay.
So they get a month and a week now?
Unbelievable, dude.
God, they just take and take and take. So they said, hey, CBS, we're going to bring back this game show. We've got a new concept for it.
Good, because the old one sucked for 10 years straight.
And most importantly, we've got Dennis James.
Right.
And CBS said, love it, absolutely love it. No on the Dennis James. No on the Dennis James. No. How about Bob Barker? How about this guy, Bob Barker, that we've got? Because at the time, there was a game show on CBS called Truth or Consequences. And it was kind of like...
Truth or Dare?
Yeah, it was like Truth or Dare. It was just a lot of like kids making out and feeling each other up and doing streaking and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So Bob Barker was hosting a show called Truth or Consequences for like 15 years at that point. He did this from like 56 to 75, I want to say. So they said, what if we take your idea, kill the Dennis James part.
Yeah.
Kill him, frankly, if
what
we
did
have
this
to.
dude do?
And put in Bob Barker. I think part of it was like CBS already had a contract with Bob Barker because he was doing Truth or Consequences. So, you know, this was back... I don't know if they still did this, but like the studio era of movies where like, oh, Judy Garland has a contract with MGM. So like if Paramount's making a movie, Judy Garland can't be in it. She can only be in MGM movies or whatever.
Wow.
So I don't know if it was like the same sort of thing with television that they just already had Bob Barker and they're like, let's use one of our existing assets.
That would suck to sign a contract with someone and then they're like bought by Sci-Fi. And so now you can only be in Sci-Fi movies for your entire career.
Yeah. I mean,
Croctopus.
So this sounds great. You're making it sound better and better every time you open your mouth. So they said, let's do Bob Barker. And they said, we really like this Dennis James guy for this role. And Bob Barker, he said, listen, I get it. I totally get it. Love the show. Love the idea. Love Dennis. Love Dennis. I think you guys should go with Dennis. At the same day, at the same day that Price is Right was set to premiere, The New Price is Right was set to premiere. Also a new CBS game show called The Joker's Wild was set to premiere.
That sounds familiar.
Yes. And so Bob Barker said, hey, listen, all right, I'll host the Joker's Wild.
Okay.
And then Dennis James can do The Price is Right.
Wait a minute. Are they about to do a topsy-turvy flipper?
And Goodson Todman said, that's great. That's phenomenal. Okay. And CBS said, absolutely no. No, we want Bob Barker to do The Price is Right. So Goodson Todman wanted their show to be on TV. So they said, okay, Bob Barker will do The Price is Right. And then they ended up doing a weekly syndicated nighttime version.
Was it spicy?
It was very spicy.
You have to guess.
It was like nutmeg and stuff like that. You had to guess the price of.
You didn't have to guess the cost of like little kids in the sex trade.
Wow. Should we start this episode over?
$1,200, and then one guy's like $1. That's where the $1 came from.
If you go to what was the website that was selling Wayfair? Weren't they trafficking kids last year?
Wayfair,
you've got just what I need. Well, yeah, there was like
the furniture. The furniture?
Yeah. So you know the QAnon people?
Yeah.
So Wayfair, I believe it was Wayfair, and don't sue us if it was somebody else.
I've bought stuff from Wayfair. That's why those kids came in the mail by accident.
Yeah. So I think it was Wayfair. It wasn't Overstock, I don't think. I think it was Wayfair.
Overstock.
So they had like a dresser or something on Wayfair that was like $12,000, something like that, right?
Yeah.
And it was named like,
oh, it's a conspiracy.
The Anna dresser or something like that.
Okay.
And so these like QAnon people were like, Hillary Clinton runs Wayfair, and that is why would a dresser be $12,000?
Yeah.
That's a little girl named Anna that you're buying for $12,000.
Holy shit.
Think about it. Why would a dresser be $12,000? First of all, I haven't trafficked many people.
Okay.
So I can't say I've got
just a
ton of experience. But $12,000 sounds like an absolute bargain for a human being. It sounds much more realistic as a price for a dresser than a human being.
See.
I feel like the work that goes into human trafficking, the potential life imprisonment and things like that, I don't think $12,000 is a reasonable price. It's like in Jurassic World 2.
With Chris Pratt?
With Chris Pratt, the second one.
Okay.
After the fall of Jurassic World, the theme park.
Yeah.
There was this underground group of people that were kind of taking the dinosaurs from the park, like working with a couple people on the inside, to like sell them to like arms dealers and stuff like that.
Classic.
And it would be like, and so there was an auction in the movie. And in a movie about resurrecting many species of dinosaurs and opening a theme park where you can go and interact with these creatures that have been extinct for millions of years.
That weren't really in the Jurassic period.
For the most part, were not in the Jurassic period. The most unrealistic thing about the movie was the prices that these arms dealers and stuff were bidding on these fucking dinosaurs. It was like, we'll open the bid at $100,000. And I'm like, it's a fucking dinosaur.
Yeah.
And there was one of them that they had modified and trained to be like a heat-seeking missile. Like you point a red laser at something and the dinosaur attacks and kills.
Yeah.
And it was like $3 million. And I'm like, a fucking machine gun is like $20 million. You see what the military spends on this shit. And these arms dealers spend like a couple $1 million on a fucking dinosaur. Dumbest part of the whole goddamn movie.
Yeah, but you can easily...
Billion. They should be $1 billion.
You could easily kill a dinosaur. And also...
You can easily shoot down a fucking ship that costs $100 million.
Also, you know how you kill this dinosaur?
Plane.
You have a laser pointer and you point it at the dinosaur and he eats his fucking body. Shit. Stupidest shit in the world.
Shit. So, yeah, that was the same people on the QAnon, I think, were bidding on the dinosaurs in Jurassic World. Anyway, speaking of bidding on things.
QAnon people have got to just get in a room with Hillary Clinton and squash this beef because everything seems to be tied to Hillary Clinton.
Yeah. She's got to clear.
She
clear
lost
the air.
a political race against one of the craziest presidents we'll ever have. Is that not enough embarrassment for this one person?
Let's not get political about it. Anyway, Bob Barker.
Mm-hmm.
He ends up hosting The New Price is Right. From 1972 until 2007.
Unbelievable.
2007.
Unbelievable.
That's a long time. That's 35 years.
He's seen
The Price
his
is Right.
children grow up. He has become a grandfather through all of this.
He's 97 right now.
Right.
And so...
American
Right,
years.
in American years. So 14 years ago, he would have been 83 when he stopped doing it.
Wow.
So he went from his 40s until 83. 48 to 83 of his life was spent hosting The Price is Right.
How many years was that total?
35, which I just said.
35.
So I reverse engineered his age from that.
I would be the person that ends at year 36.
Just to beat him.
And they're like, why?
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, why end at 36?
He said because Barker did 35.
Barker did 35.
Barker did 35. So Barker, previously, like I said, he was hosting Truth or Consequences. There was a little bit of overlap for a few years there.
Mm-hmm.
And the end of his Truth or Consequences run and the beginning of his Price is Right run. Before that, he had a Bob Barker radio show.
What was it called?
The Bob Barker Show.
The Barker?
The Bark.
Yeah, that's 100% what I would have called it if my name was Bob Barker.
And
Bark Talk?
He had some yuck monkeys just every episode back in the 40s.
Yeah.
Or 1950. was when it
Yuck
started,
monkey sounds
actually.
like a very inappropriate term.
Thank you. So he hosted the show. He had a wife. I think he has had a few, but he had a wife that she died in 1981. She was a very big animal activist.
She died in 1981?
1981. So his wife has been dead for 40 years. So
his wife has been dead longer than he was a host.
Yeah. So she was a big animal activist. So when she died...
Please tell me she got mauled by a tiger.
Yeah. So she was Siegfried. When she died, he said, all right, to honor her, I'm going to take up her cause. I'm going to become a big animal advocate.
Okay.
He had become a vegetarian.
Mm-hmm.
And...
Because fuck vegetables and plants.
Right. And that was when he began signing off the show by saying, help control the pet population, have your pets spayed or neutered.
Mm.
So that was kind of his nod to her and keeping up her legacy. He had all fur products removed from the show and things like that.
They had a lot of fur like prizes and stuff?
Yeah, exactly. Had all that banned from the show, basically. And yeah, that was the whole Bob Barker animal rights activist thing came from his
dead wife. He was the original cancel culture. He canceled fur.
He canceled fur.
And animals. He canceled people that eat animals.
I mean, he just doesn't eat animals. Anyway. So the new Price is Right was only the new Price is Right for the first year. Then it just became the Price is Right again.
Because it wasn't new anymore.
Yeah, they were like, all right, whatever. It's been sitting on the lot for a little bit. It's got some mileage on it at this point.
It's like restaurants that have grand opening up for 7 months. You're like, okay.
Yeah, we get it.
Okay.
We get it. Bob Barker would eventually go on to his most important work, featuring in the movie Happy Gilmore.
Yep. As a hard ass.
Yeah, he was Happy Gilmore, played by Adam Sandler. He was a golfer, and Bob Barker was his partner in a Pro-Am golf tournament. And Bob Barker just really played an asshole in this movie.
Yeah.
And him and Happy Gilmore come to blows, get in a fist fight, in which the famous line by Happy Gilmore is, "The price is wrong, bitch."
Yeah.
And then he punches him in the face.
Yeah.
But if you watch that on television, at least in the 90s,
oh yes,
they would censor it to Bob. So, "The price is wrong, Bob."
It wasn't "the Bob is wrong, bitch."
Yeah. So that was a great role as a youth in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
That was very funny because you stayed home from school, you watched The Price is Right, which was on at 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central Time.
Right, and then until 9 at night, they just played back to back to back to back to back to back.
There is actually, so right now, Pluto TV.
What?
Pluto TV.
It's not even a real TV
It's a
station.
streaming thing. It is now owned by Viacom, I believe. And
They're the McDonald's of broadcasting.
exactly. They have a channel that is called The Price is Right, the Bob Barker Years. That is just a 24-hour channel that plays nothing but Bob Barker episodes of The Price is Right.
Great.
So Pluto TV is free. Check it out. Sign up. Use the discount code Come On Down and get it for free.
Oh, that's how it's free?
Uh-huh.
It's $70 a month if you don't use the code.
Yeah, I think maybe more now with inflation.
Jeez. Thanks a lot, Hillary Clinton.
Yeah. So the way the new Price is Right worked
Yeah.
was, yes, they took that 4 people from the beginning. In the original one, there were rounds called like one bid, and then there were rounds called multiple bids. And so you could kind of keep going around. Like if somebody else says like 70, and you're like, fuck, it's probably higher than that. Then you're like, 71.
Uh-huh.
And like kind of like an auction style, like you can keep going.
Until you're like, nope, that's too high.
And there were other rounds in the show that were just one bid, which are like what we see on The Price is Right.
$1.
Because this round is still officially called one bid in the new Price is Right, or in the current Price is Right. And there are 4 contestants. There is a prize shown. You have to guess the price without going over.
You cannot go over.
You cannot go over.
And you can't use cents, which is bullshit.
It's all rounded to the nearest dollar. Everything on the show is rounded to the nearest dollar. There's no cents involved.
Right. I'm not checking out online and rounding up for the Red Cross. I don't want to give you 28 extra cents to round up to the dollar.
Whoa. So anyway, you've got your one bid. Everybody makes one bid going from left to right across the podiums there. And the magic of the new Price is Right, the current Price is Right, is the audience. That's the magic of the show, without a doubt in my mind.
Yeah.
Because they're just fucking yelling all the time. So they show you Kensington coffee maker or whatever.
$85.
Right, but the audience is going, 70, say no, oh, higher. Things like that.
It's like being a contestant on The Price is Right in this one bid round is like the NBA of game shows.
In what sense?
You're trying to perform and you have people screaming at you while you're trying to say a number.
Yeah, it's like sex. So I'm trying to perform and
people are screaming at you.
My wife.
Right. Like, be better.
Yeah, exactly. So you have to get the closest without going over, as we said. That's a big thing, which is why a lot of times the last bid will be $1.
Or the first bid.
Which is a bad strategy.
Okay, well, if it's a hard thing to guess the price for.
Which is a bad strategy. The last bid will sometimes be $1 if you think everybody went over. Or if you think everybody went under, you'll go $1 above the current highest bid. So if the highest current bid was $84, you might say $85.
Yeah.
So whoever is closest wins the prize and advances in the game. And then their spot in the one bid line is filled by another member of the audience, with the announcer saying, Jonathan Motney, come on down. You're the next contestant on The Price is Right.
And that person would then be injected with cocaine and creatine by the producers as they dance, scream, jump, skip,
high five everybody in the audience on their way down to the spot. It's exciting. We love it. It's just fun. It's just nonstop fun. Everybody
fun.
In the crowd has a big price tag, name tag on with their name on it. People have crazy shirts and signs and things like that. And that is very important because, and we would have found this out in person if COVID didn't just fuck us. that when the studio audience enters the building, there are like producers at the entryway kind of screening people. And that's when they're choosing
hot, not hot,
Right,
hot,
right.
hot, not hot.
And that's when they're choosing who they're going to select during the show
What?
to come on down. So like if you have like a shirt on that says like, I came from Japan to see Bob or whatever.
Yeah.
They'll like be like, wow, did you really come from Japan? Whatever. Like, and if you have some sort of interesting story or interesting hook, you are much more likely to be one of the people that is selected on the show.
They don't really ever talk about these people's hooks.
Right, but they have like the shirt, and they'll see that.
So
and
as
they
long
might,
as you're
like, mention
advertising
it.
your interesting story,
Right.
it'd be like, I've beaten cancer 4 times. Like, your shirt just says, "We love Bob." You fucking idiot! No, we're not going to have you on the show.
Exactly, you've got to have the cancer thing on your shirt, otherwise you're not.
You
on.
have a full story written out in 12-point font, Times New Roman on your shirt. You have a better chance of getting on. Now you know it. Next time you go to try and get on, The Price is Right.
Yeah, so that's a big factor in getting on the show. So we would have needed, we've got a podcast
Called
based
Come
this
On
show.
Down.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it should just say we've got a podcast.
We've got a podcast. Okay. But yeah,
Check us out. Search Come On Down. Go to your 7th Google and find us.
that's how they select the contestants. So it's important. We got to dress for the occasion.
We 100% would get on that show.
Thank you.
But we would request that we both go
Together.
down at the same.
We're a team.
Here's what we do: we put on one shirt.
Okay, I think that would work actually. So each person who gets up is replaced. So if you're there from the beginning, you've got a lot of opportunities. 6, I believe, different opportunities
It's a lot
to
of
get
bops.
yourself up there in this hour game show. Originally, when it came back, it was only half hour.
Too short.
Then
Way too short.
after a couple of years, they said, why don't we stretch this thing out a little bit? So in like 1975, I think, they stretched it out to a full hour.
Dude, that's a lot of standing up for Bob Barker.
He's a great stander.
I didn't even think about
even
that.
Even in his old age, he's a great stander.
Yeah.
So you get through the 1 bid round. If you win, first of all, if you get the exact price in the 1 bid round,
Yeah.
you get $500 bonus dollars, just
Holy
cash
shit.
money, $500.
Before taxes?
Yes. Up until 98, it was 100. But then they said, hey, money's not worth what it used to be.
Yeah.
Let's bump this up to 5 hundos. So you get $500 if you're exactly on the nose in your 1 bid round.
Yeah.
In addition to whatever the thing you bid on was.
So if you want to win this strategy and use 1, you know that you're forfeiting $500.
Yeah, you have no chance of getting that $500. But what if the thing is worth $800? Like all you really care about is making sure that you win that prize.
Right.
And you also advance into the show, which gives you the
More
potential to win a lot
opportunity.
more money.
Way more ops.
Thousands and thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
So if everybody goes over, by the way, which can happen, they do like a and he's like, all right, everybody's over. This was the lowest person to bid. It's below that. Everybody give a new bid. And so they'll do that again, just left to right on the podiums, and it always starts with the newest person. After the opening one, the newest person gives the first bid.
So you would be stupid to have that situation happen and him and Bob Barker tell you it's lower and then say $1. Because then everybody knows
everybody else
it's
has to go.
clearly under $1 or under what that person said.
Right. So after you win this, you move on to the next round, which are the pricing games.
Mm-hmm.
And here's where a lot of the real fun in this game is, in
Absolutely.
the pricing games. So again, we said there are 6 winners of these, so there are 6 of these throughout the game. The show's kind of divided into 2 halves, more or less.
Halves. Two
Two
halves.
halves. It's like soccer.
Yeah.
There are 3 in the first half, 3 in the second half. So the first 3 winners, they go to their pricing games. It's right after the 1 bid round. So each 1 bid round, you get a pricing game. Then after that, you get the next person come on down. You go back to the 1 bid, and then a pricing game with the winner, etc. Alternating for 3 times.
Ooh, that's cool.
So the pricing games, when the show initially started, there were 5 different pricing games.
Okay.
Now there are over 75 in rotation.
Damn.
And
Good job on those writers.
Some of them have gone away. Obviously, many more have been added over time. And there are, classic ones like Plinko is probably the most classic of Price is Right games, where this is hard to describe because if I were to describe something like this, I would always say like a Plinko board.
Describe it.
So
pretend I'm from a native, pretend I'm from a group
like
of
a tribal
group, and I've never.
Okay.
And
on what continent?
America.
Oh, okay. All right.
So
at least
classic,
you speak English.
The classic American continent.
The American kind of tribal person.
Yeah.
So it is basically a huge vertical board.
Okay.
With,
when you say vertical,
I mean up and down.
Okay, got it.
Standing upright.
Okay.
There are several like notches like nailed into the board.
Okay.
And then at the bottom, there are slots that each have a dollar amount on them.
Okay, and dollar is?
It's a currency.
Okay.
So you've got a circular disc.
Right.
Like
a frisbee.
Kind of, yes, like a smaller frisbee.
Okay, so I know what frisbee is, but not dollar.
I mean, travel people love fucking Ultimate. Okay. So you're at the top of the board.
How?
On like a platform or
got it.
An elevated riser, and you drop your frisbee from the top.
Right.
And it bounces off of all the little notches.
Okay.
And goes left and right and back and forth and down because of gravity, which, by the way, is a phenomenon.
And gravity is?
Everything's pulled down to the earth.
Got it.
So, and whichever slot it lands in, you win that amount of prize money.
Wow. That's amazing.
So that's Plinko.
Thank you.
So Plinko, obviously, is a classic game, as we mentioned. You start with one chip, and then by doing little mini pricing games of correctly guessing the price of four, everyday kind of grocery type items, probably.
Yeah.
You can earn up to 4 additional chips. So you've got 5, and the middle is a $10,000 slot on the Plinko board. So you nail that, knock that in there 5 times.
Oh my gosh.
$50K right there.
That's been done how many times?
Probably never.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
But you could. It's conceivable.
You're saying there's a chance.
Yes, exactly. So there's Plinko. There's another great one is the mountain climber.
Okay, and that's the crag rock?
Yes, you get a giant glowing piece of the aggro crag.
Can you imagine like a poor 80-year-old woman trying to climb
the
Price is Right?
There's boulders falling on her.
Yeah.
So in the mountain climbers, there are 3 items that you're trying to guess the price of, and this one is hard because it's literally you're kind of just blind guessing.
Okay.
You don't have, like, most of the pricing games will have like it involves these numbers, or is it higher or lower than this, or here are 3 prices, match them to the items that are on there.
Yeah.
This one is like, it's like, here's a Keurig, how much does it cost? And
185.
right, so you guess a number, the audience is yelling things at you, you're looking at them, you're holding up fingers trying to say, oh, 1, and they're like, no, 2, yeah, whatever.
Okay. Who are you looking at?
The audience.
So you're just taking like a general scan?
Just a general, yeah. So
I would make them all stop and say, we're going to do a vote. Everybody shut up. We're going to vote.
Everybody.
Quietly.
This is like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire now. We're going to ask the audience. So you've got to guess these 3 prices. Obviously, you're probably not going to get them exactly right.
No.
Again, they're rounded to the dollar. And what they do is, so they show the Keurig thing and you say, $140 or whatever.
Yeah. I said 185.
Okay, sorry. You say 185, all right? Let's say the actual price is $94.
Shit.
So there's this mountain, and you guess, and there's a little mountain climber, man. And first of all, it starts going, and he starts moving up, and there are numbers, and however many dollars you are off is how much he moves.
Okay.
And the numbers go to 25. So you've got 3 products you have to price, and as a total, you have to be within $25.
So I already lost.
Well, no, you're only $9 off on this one based on my fictional price and your fictional guess. So it goes to the 9 and stops, and then you do the next product, and then it goes, advances by how many you missed it by.
Okay.
And then if you're more than 25, on that third one, you're watching and he's climbing, you're like, stop, you motherfucker, stop climbing that fucking mountain. And if it gets to the 25 and it's more than that, just off the edge of the cliff he goes.
He dies.
Off the edge he goes.
This man commits suicide on national
so,
television.
Remember Dennis James?
The guy that should have, the guy that turns on his TV and takes a swig of whiskey because he's like,
Bob
I
Barker.
could have fucking been that.
So when he was hosting the syndicated weekly nighttime version, at one point they use the same sets, the same like models, the Price is Right models who show off the prizes and things like that. One of the models in 1975, her husband was a guy named Fritz. All right, and he was a mountain climber, and he went missing in a mountain climb, disappeared, was never found.
It's because somebody guessed too high.
And Dennis James did not know this.
Oh no.
And they were doing an episode, and the mountain climber game was in the show. And the guy starts going up, and he's like, all right, here goes Fritz climbing the mountain. And then the person lost the game, and he's like, oh, and there goes Fritz, we lost him. And the model started crying and ran off the stage in the middle of the show and didn't come back.
Did she also go missing in the mountains?
And then she went missing in the mountains. And so there was a little, I think he felt bad about, making jokes accidentally, I guess, about her missing husband who was never found.
Here's the thing, though. It's crazy to me that at first I was like, why the fuck are these producers so against Dennis James? But they had the foresight to be like, this guy's probably going to make some insensitive fucking comment and make one of our models cry.
Yeah. There's no doubt about it.
Wow. So
the pricing game, you can win additional prizes. In some cases, you can win cash, like in Plinko, for example. In like the mountain climbers, you're winning those 3 prizes and probably a bonus prize. There are a lot of cars and things like that where you've got to guess the price of cars. There are some other games like Any Number. That was a good game. That was the very first game ever played on the new Price is Right.
Ooh.
And also the very last one ever played on Bob Barker's final episode.
Perfect.
A little bookend there for you. So basically, there are 3 things up there. There's like a new car, there's a smaller prize, and a piggy bank that just has cents in it.
Boo.
And so the price of all 3 of those things have 9 numbers or 10 numbers.
Okay.
Like the
3 and
like 5, 3, and 2.
Okay.
And they're all unique numbers.
Every single one?
Right. So the goal is you're yelling out numbers, and when whatever number you yell is assigned to each one of the items, either the smaller prize, the car, or the piggy bank.
So I say 5, and then we wait, and it pops up in the prize section. You're like, well, shit.
Right, exactly.
I don't want that.
Exactly.
I don't want to fill up that price
Exactly.
section.
So you're trying to get the car ideally here.
Yeah.
So you're trying to guess the price of the car with the numbers. And whichever one you fill in first is what you win. So you don't want to get the 2 that are in the piggy bank because then you win 43 cents.
Well, unless you need 43 cents.
Well, if you need 43 cents, why don't you just get the car and then sell it and you have way more
Because you
than
know what
43
you
cents.
get with the car? Taxes. You have to pay taxes on that car.
Think about how much tax you have to pay. You have to pay 41 cents on the 43 cents. Yeah. So yeah, that was the very first one played, and the very last one played during Bob Barker's term. There's Aaron Paul. You know him?
He is from Breaking Bad.
He is from Breaking Bad, that cooking show.
How have we not? Dude, it's a cooking show where you have to make the worst tasting thing.
Yeah. All right.
Oh my
Nobody
God.
steal that.
Don't
Steal that. We're working
Breaking
it.
Bad. I love that.
So, Aaron Paul, before he was, a famous actor, he was a contestant on The Price is Right.
No.
Yes.
How'd he get in? What did his shirt say? I'm going to be a
I don't
famous
remember.
actor one day.
I saw it, but I don't remember. Maybe he just like told the producer a good story when he came in. Who knows? So he was on the show. He won the one bid round. He went to the pricing game. He played the dice game, which is you're rolling a giant die dice.
Is it just
Singular
one?
dice, plural die, right? Or no, it's plural dice, singular die.
Yeah.
So I guess you're rolling a giant die, and what you're trying to roll the number that is the price of in the price of a car. But if you land on an exact number and they say yes, that's in the price. But if you don't, they say no, that's not in the price. Do you think the number is higher or lower than the number you rolled? And that was the game he played, and he missed the last number and didn't win the car. And so now he still walks everywhere. He didn't win the car.
Oh, so you aren't allowed to buy a car if you don't win the car.
Nope, that's it. That's the only car you ever get a chance to have.
Got it.
So, like I said, there are more than 75 of these games. There are a lot of fun ones, some that aren't as cool, but
game
they
highlights
try to keep them fun. What?
That I saw, it was very simple. It was a short set, a piece that was wheeled on, and it had a straight shelf, and it had 4 numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And the number at the very end on the far right side stuck, and it was called tilt towards or away. And he would tilt the thing towards one side, and all 3 numbers would shift and slide to the other one, being anchored by that last number. And he would shift it the other way, and they would all slide back. So it was like, does it start with, is it $9,163, or is it $6,139? And she got it wrong.
Idiot. So, like we said, they do that 3 times, the one bid and then the pricing games. And then they go to the Showcase Showdown, which is a giant spinning wheel.
Mm-hmm.
And the 3 people who have participated in the game so far, who have won the one bid, who have done the pricing games, each get a turn to spin in order of least to most money won so far.
Okay.
The goal is to spin closest to $1 on there.
Okay.
There are, a bunch of different cents on
60 is one.
Yeah, I think it's
75.
20. I think there are 20 spaces. I think it's for every
15.
5. Yep, those are all numbers. Yeah,
20 is one of them.
So you get up to 2 spins.
$1.
Yes, you have to spin it around at least 1 full rotation.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't, you get a second try. And if you still don't, then the host does it. And so you get up to 2 tries. If you spin your first one and you get 80 cents, you probably want to stop there because there are a lot of numbers higher than 20. And if you go over $1, you're out.
Yeah, don't fucking spin again.
You're out. So,
but if you were to hit 20,
you're going to want to spin again because that's not good enough.
Well, no,
on the second one,
80-20.
Yeah, then you're at $1. And if you get right on the $1, you get $1,000 bonus.
Yeah, or you can hit a 15 space.
So
for 95.
So you get 1,000. Yeah, well, yeah. Then you're at 95, and that's good. You want to stop there.
Or 10.
Yes, you could. You could get 90. So each person goes the closest person to $1 without going over. So if the first 2 people go over, the last person just gets 1 spin.
Yeah.
Because they can't go over on 1 spin. But if you land exactly on $1, you get $1,000 bonus, and then you get a bonus spin. And on the bonus spin, if you land on 5 or 15 cents, which are the 2 sandwiching the $1, you get a $10,000 bonus. And if you land on the $1 again,
this is stupid.
25,000.
I mean,
is it stupid now?
Yeah, because nobody's ever done it.
It's been done.
$3 in a row.
No, just 2.
Okay, that's what I thought. That's why I said that's stupid.
$1, and then you get 1 bonus spin to land on the $1 again, or the 5 or 15 to get 10,000. So pretty solid. Pretty solid. So the person who wins that goes to the showcase at the end of the show, which is after the second half of the next 3 people that won the one bid and did their pricing games.
Yeah.
And then they do the showcase showdown spin again, and then that person goes to the showcase. So at the end of the show, the 2 winners of the showcase showdown compete in 2 showcases. The person who has won the highest amount of money so far gets to be presented with their showcase first, which is an assortment of prizes. There's usually some sort of theme to it.
Yeah, like prizes.
Yes, the theme is usually prizes. Like it'll be like, ooh, you get this SUV with this pop-up tent and...
I'm sorry, what's the theme between those 2?
A travel grill, like camping.
It's becoming more clear.
Sort of
Got it.
And, there are a lot of trips. So like, and a trip to the Yosemite National Park or whatever. So, that might be one theme. And then there's another theme that is like home makeover or whatever. And you get, exercise machines and appliances and things like that. So if you have the most money, you're presented with the first showcase. And you can say either, I want to play this showcase or I want to play the other showcase, but you're blind to the other showcase.
Oh, they blind you? They physically blind you?
They Larry from the Three Stooges comes in and wink right in your eyes. Now you're making me cough. So you can choose the one that you saw, or you can choose the other one, and your showcase, the first showcase is assigned to the other person.
You get to steal a showcase?
Steal?
Well, they present one showcase for you, and the other person could say, I want that.
No, too bad. I get to choose.
Oh my gosh.
I get to choose. So as the bigger money winner, you get to make that choice. And then you have to place a bid on the items in your showcase. And the other person has to place a bid on the items in their showcase. And the person with the closer bid wins their showcase without going over. You can't go over. If you both go over, nobody wins shit.
Yeah.
So don't do that. Be careful. And it gets better. If you're within $250 of your showcase, and closer to the other person, in case you're both within $250,
you get to take the contestant home. You've won the other contestant that lost.
You win both showcases.
Okay,
both of them.
Get out of here.
If you're within $250, it used to be $100, but throughout time, the value of money has changed. The value of things has changed.
Right.
There's been inflation, so the prizes on the show have gone up in price to match inflation. And so it's only fair that, before, if a showcase used to be $3,000 and now it's $20,000,
Jesus,
you get a little bit of a bigger buffer in your window.
What was that showcase that jumps? Was it Apple stock?
Well, I'm just saying, like, before, like, if you want a brand new nice car in 1972, it was like $5,000.
Oh, it's college education.
Yeah, exactly. College education. So it's, you could win a $400,000 showcase. 4 years of a nice college.
Yeah.
So, the winner is the person who wins the showcase, and hopefully not both of them went over and there's not an anticlimactic ending to the show. Speaking of the showcases, I want to talk to you about some controversy.
Oh.
Well, first of all, let's go back in time a little bit to Plinko. Remember Plinko? We talked about Plinko?
I did.
Plinko, like I said, it's kind of a big deal. It's probably the most well-known game. It's used as a cross-promotion in like all sorts of other ancillary Price is Right stuff, like board games and video games and all sorts of things like that. And there are lotteries and things like that that use the assets. So they'll often use the Plinko board in advertisements or commercials for these things. And when they do it, what they'll want to do is obviously, make the chip drop into the 10,000.
Yeah, obviously.
And so they'll put like clear fishing wire in a V on the board so that it bounces around and always goes into the 10,000.
Son of a bitch.
And so one day they were filming a commercial for like a Price is Right video game thing with the Plinko board. And they did the whole fishing wire thing.
Yeah.
And they did it. And then like, they were like, all right, time to film an episode now. And they put everything up and they forgot to take the fishing wire off. And so there was a woman who was competing in the pricing game and she got Plinko. And she got all 5 chips and she put that first chip down there, boom, right in the 10K. And then they gave her second chip and she put boom, right in the 10K. And then they gave her the third chip and boom, right in the 10K. And then they gave her the fourth chip. And then somebody on the side went, oh, fuck, I think we forgot to take that fishing wire off.
Yeah.
And it was dropping and a producer ran out on the stage and intercepted it mid-drop.
Whoa.
And was like, no, this is all wrong. We've got fishing wire here.
Oh, man.
So they removed the fishing wire. They gave her all of her 5 chips back and had her do it again.
Boom, $10,000.
No,
Oh.
no. But so they said, we'll give you the $30,000 that you've won so far, in addition to what you get on these 5.
But the slight adjustment is there now is a slot that is negative $30,000.
$30,000 slot.
You owe us $60,000.
Yes, and they in the episode of it. This was in 2008, I believe. So in the episode,
So a hard year to not win $30,000.
yeah, exactly. This was in July 2008. This happened, and they the version that aired later that year.
Yeah.
Because they film like 3 a day or 2 a day for 3 days a week. The version that aired didn't have that part in it at all. It was just her doing her second run at it. And they never mentioned, the other $30,000 that she got, but she did get the initial $30,000 on top of her other prizes. So that's a little behind the scenes for you. Here's another little behind the scenes for you.
Yeah.
There's this documentary that I watched.
Peel the curtain back.
There's this documentary called The Perfect Bid. Have you seen it?
No.
So I watched it on Amazon Prime.
Is it also about the Anna chest?
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's floating around on one of the streaming services still.
Okay.
And it's a documentary about a guy named Terry Neese, who also in 2008, coincidentally, which by the way was Drew Carey's first year as host. We haven't talked about Drew Carey yet.
Yeah.
Drew Carey took over in 2007 for Bob Barker after his retirement. Drew Carey at the time was hosting a game show on CBS called Power of 10.
Okay.
And they liked him. This is kind of the same way that the Bob Barker thing worked, where he was hosting another game show on the channel. And they said, you're going to be the Price is Right host now. So he took over for Bob Barker. He maintained the Get Your Pets Neutered and Spayed thing as a tribute to Bob Barker. So he still does that. But, there were certain things, especially like behind the scenes that he wanted to make his own. He's got his own people and producers and things like that he's getting involved, whatever. So anyway, so this was still kind of like a year into his run. There's a man who comes on the show named Terry Neese, who, he wins the one bid. He loses his pricing game, but he wins the showcase showdown and goes into the final showcase. He gets his showcase and he gives a bid that is the exact
God.
like $23,492 or something like that. And that is the exact price of all of the things in his showcase. And it happens and they stop the show. And they're like, okay, this guy cheated.
How the fuck did you know that?
And so they're like freaking out backstage for like 45 minutes, figuring out like what to do, like calling the network. Like Drew Carey said in this documentary, because of, the cheating scandal, the 21 scandal, like back in the day, like Drew Carey was like, all right, like this is illegal. Like somebody told this guy the answers. This show's like, I'm fired. Like this show is going to be taken off the air.
I love how the point of the show is to guess the price correctly, and some guy does, and they're like, shut it down.
Shut it all down. And so they're freaking out about it. And you're trying to figure out what to do. And they're like, all right, well, just, we finished the episode, I guess. And so if you watch the episode, they, do their bids or whatever. And it's like, he's like, $24,392. And the actual price, $24,392. You got it right on the nose. All right, we'll see you next time. Like, no, like, big celebration or anything. The only time this has ever happened, because they were like, this is never gonna air. Like, whatever. Damn. We just have to like wrap up this taping. Yada yada yada. So they do all this research looking into it. Like, how did this happen? How did he get this exactly right? Whatever. And the guy is saying, like, he contends. So here's where it gets a little sketchy.
Okay.
Like he contends like, oh no, like the 392, that's my bank PIN number, which isn't enough numbers for a PIN number.
Yeah.
First of all. And I knew, like, I've been watching the show. So he said he watched the show for the last 4 months. He recorded every episode for the last 4 months
Sure.
to analyze all the prizes on there and the prices because he knew he was going to be going to a taping. And he had seen all of the things in there before and knew that it was right around $24,000 or whatever. And then the 392 was just
Bank pin.
just a number. Yeah, his bank pin. And that's what it was, whatever. However, what the show was concerned happened was there was a beloved producer that was with the show for like 25 or 30 years.
Yeah.
And in the Drew Carey takeover, he ended up being let go and replaced.
Oh, shit.
And like all these people on like the Price is Right message boards or whatever were like upset about it because this guy had been around forever and they knew him and they'd been to tapings and they'd met this producer and blah, 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 blah. That sort of weird fandom thing. And so they thought somehow there's a disgruntled employee on the inside still, like that's also upset about this, that is like wants to embarrass us, wants to screw us over, whatever, like something like that is going on. They found no evidence of that. However, there was another guy in the audience that day named Ted Slauson.
Okay, serial killer name.
Right. So Ted Slauson, this was the 37th Price is Right taping that he had attended. So he was a big math nerd. He was like a math teacher.
Okay.
And literally since he was like a teenager, he had been watching The Price is Right, recording every episode, marking down the price of every single item on the episode, building a gigantic spreadsheet. He built a gigantic computer program that would quiz him on the price of all the items that have ever appeared on the show.
Nice.
So that he would know exactly all these numbers. He got on the show once, like after attending several tapings, he became a contestant on the show and he lost.
So this program, what a waste of time.
Right. So I don't remember exactly what happened because I watched a documentary a couple years ago, but he lost. And at the time, the Price is Right rule was you could only be a contestant one time.
Okay.
So he stopped going.
So he listened to the Eminem song, One Chance, One Opportunity, and he failed it.
Yeah, so he stopped going. And then they changed the rules in the 2000s that you could be on once a decade.
Oh.
So he thought, it's been more than a decade. I can start going back again.
Yeah.
And again, he'd been there 37 times. So like a lot of like the staff and producers kind of knew who he was because he was...
They were like, this is the weird guy that keeps showing up.
He was frequently there. And so the night before Terry Neese's episode was taping, he got there. Terry Neese and his wife were camping out, in the middle of the night. Ted Slauson shows up right next to them in line and is talking to them and telling them about, how this is his 37th
I built a program. It doesn't work, but I spent a lot of time doing it.
Exactly. And all this stuff and yada, yada, yada. So they go in and they sit next to each other in the audience.
Okay. Fast friends.
Right. Terry Neese obviously ends up getting on the show, and Ted Slauson claims that he is yelling and signaling to Terry Neese the price of all of these items.
Right.
And for whatever reason, Terry Neese denies that claim.
Okay.
And as far as I can tell, Ted Slauson is not making any claim that he should get a cut of the money or he should get a split of the prizes or anything like that. He's just claiming, here's how it happened. I was there. I was sitting next to his wife. So like he says he was like looking over at his wife. I was telling her also like, this is how much this costs and like signaling to him.
This is so complicated.
I know. That's why there's a documentary about it.
Also, why would you listen to this guy?
I mean, he tells me he's got a computer program.
He had his own shot and fucking failed.
Well, there was an item. I believe what happened was there was an item that it was the first time it was ever on the show when he was there.
So he got screwed. Okay.
Right. So, Ted Slauson allegedly helped Terry Neese get the exact price down to the dollar on the showcase.
Even though there's zero evidence of it.
Yeah. But
It's just a guy screaming.
Eyewitness testimony or whatever.
Uh-huh. And so then what? Did they actually give him the prize?
They gave him the prize. They aired the episode. Like I said, Drew Carey does not seem very excited for what the event was that happened.
Because he thought he just lost his job.
Yeah. So it's very interesting. It's funny to watch. It's an interesting documentary. It's not a very well made documentary.
Why is that?
They didn't really have I don't think they interviewed most of the people involved, aside from I think Ted Slauson. And so a lot of the interview footage is just interviews pulled from other sources that people did about
There's no consistency
event. Yeah, exactly. So the Drew Carey aspects of it are when he was on a podcast or something like that talking about it, and things like that. So it's a little choppy, and it's only an hour long, 65 minutes, something like that, I want to say. So it's pretty quick to get through, but it's
the
a crazy
Happy Meal
story
of documentaries.
Exactly.
And that's just a nice little bite size.
It's part of the monopoly and etc. But it did remind me of the Michael Larson Press Your Luck thing where he memorized the pattern by recording the show.
Yeah!
That's a good
Dude, that's the one thing
a good Michael Larson.
Is you celebrated before anybody knew what was going on.
So all the prizes on the show are donated by the companies that make them as advertising. Basically. So you can say this Samsung television with its 4K resolution and vibrant colors.
And this was in the 70s?
Yeah. That was when the first Samsung 4K TV came out.
Dang.
Yeah, so all the prizes are donated.
Can I talk about the prizes real quick?
Yeah.
Okay. So here's were some strange prizes that I came across in the episodes that I had viewed. A TV that rotates so you can watch it in vertical mode.
Right, if you've recorded it on your phone.
I was like, why was this made?
For TikTok.
I understand. Think about you just watch TikTok on your TV. Okay, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
A tiny house.
I like tiny houses.
What do you do?
Hold on.
What do you do with a tiny house?
Hold on. About a year and a half ago, a good friend of mine got married.
Right.
All right. And his wedding was at a place called Tiny House Vacation Rentals.
Was it at a tiny house though, or was that a normal sized cabin?
Was it your wedding that I'm talking about? Is that what I couldn't remember the details. I just knew it was a friend of mine. Oh yeah, it was your wedding,
right?
That was at a place called Tiny House Vacation
and
Rentals.
The wedding was at a normal size.
And where did you sleep that night?
The cabin.
Where did you sleep the next night?
At the cabin. At the cabin the night of.
And the next night?
Yeah, I slept at a tiny house.
Exactly, tiny house.
That was on a giant group of a whole bunch of tiny houses.
Right, but people who have tiny houses put them on land usually.
I'm sorry. So you get a tiny house and you live in an apartment. You have no land. If you live in a house, you don't have extra land to put a tiny house on it.
Yeah, no, but you only live in the tiny house.
Where is the tiny house?
On the land.
I don't think. No, it was on wheels. The thing was on it was
because you got to take it somewhere. The land you got to take it to.
You don't have the land. You
buy some land.
You don't win land.
You buy some land. Don't you ever listen to the radio? There are all sorts of land sales going on all the time. Come out this weekend and lakefront property, 2 acres, $69,900.
Nope, sorry, you bid. It was over.
Damn it!
You should have gone with $1. I thought that was a crazy weird prize.
There are weird prizes on there. Again, probably because they're donated and they kind of have to take what they can get to some
the company that made the TV that rotates verticals, nobody's fucking buying these.
That's what on the Price is Right, baby. Yeah, grandma will want it. Or some kid that's homesick.
Dude, if a grandma bought that TV and didn't know, she'd have a fucking heart attack if it starts rotating to the side.
Yeah. So this game show is interesting to me in that think of the concept of it that we've kind of just been indoctrinated into.
Okay.
Is something that in the 50s, 60s, 70s was probably much more interesting. But if The Price is Right didn't exist.
Yeah.
And today you were like, all right, I've got an idea for a game show.
It's called Baking Bad.
Yeah. I've got an idea for a game show. What is it? All right. So we have a a Folgers coffee maker,
Yeah.
and then people have to guess how much a Folgers coffee maker costs. You'd be like, I don't think that's a good idea for a game show at
Yeah.
all. That's not. People are not going to watch a game show where people guess how much a Folgers coffee
Yeah.
maker is. But it's the most popular game show ever.
But I'm a man and I have no idea what prices are anyway.
Oh, I would be so bad at this show. I would just be the worst ever. But I just think it's funny that like we love it. It's still insanely popular. But if it were created now, people would be like, "That's the dumbest idea I've ever
I
heard of."
don't know, dude. Because like it's running on two pistons in my mind.
Wow.
One of
It's a
them
V2.
is nostalgia. But the other one is it's fun. It is fun to guess prizes of things. And
It is. And I'm telling you, the audience watching it
the
now,
prizes have to be cool too. Because the audience wants to be like, oh, I want
to win that.
Yeah, I wanna win a
I want to
car.
come on down.
Yeah.
I'm coming on down right now.
I'm coming on down.
The COVID really hurt this show. So last season,
Okay, 4 pistons. Prizes, nostalgia,
crowd.
concept.
Okay. Perfect. So last season, there was no audience at all.
Sounds terrible.
There was just, they would bring people out one at a time from backstage that were the pre-selected contestants.
Yeah.
And they had them set up, 37 feet apart from each other on the 4 podiums.
Yeah.
Just on a stage kind of awkwardly. And then they would like zoom in people in the background to be an audience or whatever. And like while you were doing the pricing games, it was just like the 3 other people that weren't selected were the people that were like going higher, lower, whatever.
Oh, God.
Like, so it's just so weird. The energy's all off. It's not right.
Yeah.
So this season, they brought back like a reduced crowd
Severely.
where they sit in weird pods, like of 2
It's
or
like
3.
2 people, yeah.
Kind of behind like little desks almost, like spaced out from each other. It's still weird.
It's like Jeopardy.
Yeah, it's still weird, but it's better, I guess. And like the contestants row is more like a regular contestants row, but they're still far apart from each other.
Yeah.
They're not right next to each other like they used to be. At this point, it's all theater.
Well, yeah, because I saw one where there's a very old lady who, by the way, almost fell over when she did the spin.
Jesus.
Like she started to seriously.
Did she get it all the way around?
She did.
Nice.
But he went up. He put the whole time. Drew Carey doesn't have a mask on. He puts on a mask and then he pulls out this cloth so he doesn't touch the actual handles, and he helps her spin, and then takes the mask off and steps 2 feet away.
Right.
So it's absolutely theater at this point.
Yeah, of course. But it's weird. It's not the same. Like, we need that audience back full.
Yes.
We need that audience back. We need hootin' and hollerin' and yelling.
Putin.
What?
Huh?
And Putin?
Yeah.
Yeah. Based on some of the things you've said so far on this episode, I'd say you do need Putin.
You're telling me you would turn on a television show and it's called Hootin' with Putin, and you would not sit there and watch.
Does he have a
that
shirt on?
No, obviously
Okay,
not.
then obviously I'm watching. Let's be real.
And it's him just guessing what type of who's go with the owls that they.
It's guessing owl hoots. Hootin' with Putin. All right, yeah. Obviously I'm in. And then, 50 years from now, people will be having a podcast and they'll be like, isn't it crazy? Like, yeah, I get it in the 2020s, like guessing owl hoots was probably a good idea for a game show. But now, like, you would present that and people would be like, guessing owl hoots? No, that's crazy. That's a terrible idea for a game show. But in the 2020s, it made sense.
Well, I understand. Why did they get Dennis James to host it?
He had to deal with the network, Russia TV. He was hosting another game show.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I mean, overall, this, let's discount the last 2 seasons. Again, this is the 50th season. They just did a big primetime 2-hour special. It's, the longest running game show ever.
Deal with that.
I mean, it's been 50 seasons. And again, this was a revival of a show that had 10 seasons before that.
Crazy.
So this game show, your whole parents' life has existed. Most of like your grandparents' life it has existed.
Mm-hmm.
It's a mainstay. It is the now, again, with COVID, this has probably changed, but it was like the stay at home from school special. Well, I guess with the internet it's changed because now you're just watching, kids are just
Whenever you
watching
want.
YouTube
Yeah.
when they stay home from school.
Yeah.
But we had to watch The Price is Right and we loved it.
It's better than the daytime shit that was on.
It was better than Days of Our Lives
Yeah.
or The Bold and the Beautiful. Pretty close to The Young and the Reckless. Restless, I think.
I like Reckless better.
That's a spinoff that I'm working on.
The Young and the Reckless.
And it's a 5 buzzers. I don't know if I'm
clearly-
jumping ahead of myself.
It's clearly
here,
5
but
buzzers.
it's a 5 buzzers.
Hey, ask me how to make it better.
How do you make it better?
Literally nothing.
You can't get the crowd back. That's the only way.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah.
Drew Carey,
4.9, I take mine back.
Okay.
4.9 buzzers.
5 with the crowd back.
100% 5 with the crowd.
Okay,
back.
Drew Carey, he's done a really solid job taking over for Bob Barker.
He's fine.
Listen, Bob Barker, you can't just replace Bob Barker. There's some, I mean, Bob Barker's just, his voice, the gravitas it had to, I don't know what it was, his personality. And yeah, sure, now there's some stuff about like sexual harassment allegations and stuff like that.
How did we not talk about that?
Because I didn't want to besmirch
Was
the
he
man.
sexually harassing humans or animals?
Both.
Ah,
Like the, some of the models on the show have said like, well, one of the models had like a little affair with him. And then
that's why his first wife died.
that was why she killed herself. In like the 90s, one of the models had a little affair with him, and then she got fired like a year or two after the affair ended. And so then she sued for like wrongful termination or whatever.
Seems like a long way to. Like you had your job for 2 more years. What do you mean wrongful termination? You took a shit on the stage.
Listen, I'm gonna err on believing women here. Maybe you don't want to do that, and that's fine. People will look back on you in a few years, and they'll be able to, paint a better picture of you, including stuff like that.
Yeah, people
But
are already doing that.
they're looking back on you.
Yeah.
Wow, you're a big deal
Yeah.
because of your hootin' with Putin idea.
Okay, first of all, Hootin' with Putin there'd be at least 3 episodes of that. Can we agree?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know how many owls there are. I assume there are 40 owls.
How many people would Putin have killed during those 3 episodes, or disappeared like a fucking Chinese tennis player?
Mm-hmm. So we're not going to talk about the sexual harassment allegations.
There are a couple sexual harassment allegations from the 90s on Bob Barker, and that's the only thing on an otherwise clean record.
Okay, 4.8 stars. If those sexual harassments are expunged, 4.9. Once the audience gets back, 5.0.
Okay, but yeah, I think Drew Carey's done a solid job taking over. He keeps it fun and lighthearted. The same, like, basically nothing has changed from the viewer other than there's a different dude saying the words.
Right.
Like everything else about the show is the same. But there was like that old friendly grandpa aspect of Bob Barker.
The one who would kind of
Touch you
a little bit. Yeah.
yeah. That people were very excited about that you probably don't have with Drew Carey, but maybe when Drew Carey gets older,
I bet he will.
you'll have more of that,
Yeah.
And I will say in the 80s, Bob Barker, one of the first TV hosts ever to stop dyeing his hair and just embrace
The whiteness.
it. Yeah.
Finally, somebody embraces the
He was a
whiteness.
trailblazer. And I don't know, maybe like the hair dye was made out of like octopus ink or something like that. So he didn't want to.
So he wore so he did his hair in paella stance.
What's a paella?
Squid ink paella? You don't know paella? I thought you were a
Oh,
traveler,
That's
world traveler.
That's the big pan with all the seafood and
right,
stuff in
and
it.
there's
I've had
one
that
called
before.
squid ink, and
Really?
they use squid ink to dye. It's all black.
Oh, I didn't
inside.
know that.
It's really good.
I didn't know that. I've had paella in Spain before.
Yeah, España.
In España. I've done it. Don't worry.
So once you move to Spain, everybody has a lisp then.
Yes. Yeah, when you're having lunch at fucking 2:30 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and they're like, "Oh, do you want paella?" And I'm like, "That sounds like a lot for fucking lunch."
It's a heavy meal.
But that's what they do, and they're like, "Yeah, don't worry, we just sleep after this, and then we go back to work at 6." It's weird.
Yeah,
Spain, you're canceled.
you're canceled.
All right, this has been The Price is Right. Like we said, you can't beat it.
It has been
5 buzzers.
Isn't it crazy?
It's been an honor talking about this.
It's been 50 years of Come On Down podcast.
This is 50 years. Also, this is our longest episode by far, but it needs to be.
It does need to be.
It needs to be because of what we're talking about today.
Yeah.
There would be no Come On Down if there was no Price is Right.
Correct.
There might be a game show podcast, but it wouldn't have this name.
It wouldn't.
I'll put it that way.
There probably
It
is
would
one.
not have this name.
It wouldn't.
So, yeah, thank you to Goodson and Todman.
Yep.
Thank you to CBS for having the foresight of getting this Dennis James motherfucker out of here.
Get him the fuck
No
out.
thank you to Goodson and Todman for thinking Dennis James was a good idea.
He probably
After what
would
he
have.
did to Fritz, after what he said about Fritz,
Yeah.
yikes. But yeah, good show. Thanks
Great
Sorry,
show.
Great show. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys next week where we talk about a much worse show.